Maniapoto, Kaputui, Nga Tirora, no Te Whānau, Amohanga, Nihora, Te Wakaminenga Wahi. So thank you again to the Trust Board for giving us the opportunity to kōrero about our position. And really, Alfred's actually said most of it, but we do want it recorded at these hui that we did put the position, the sovereign position of our people forward, and coming more from a real position of empowerment. When you look at the New Zealand government and all the powers and the instruments and the organs, the assets that they have to govern, we haven't got that type of infrastructure. And so, if for instance, when we had Tauiwi coming into our country and saying, you know, we want to buy up some of your land, we want to dig up your gold, we want to, you know, take this and take that. If we had an office, an overseas investment office, like the New Zealand government does, we might have been able to make some decisions which didn't leave us where we are today, which is totally disempowered. And I just really, that's really what we're on about. We're on about bringing in a structure that is actually going to empower us, that is going to meet our goals and aspirations. And I'm sure that you know that our tupuna, if you go back to Wahanui and Iwi and Taunui in 1884, and when they went to the Parliament in Wellington, and they said, look, you know, we don't want the native land court in our territory. We want to be able to have control and make all of those decisions ourselves. And we've got the wherewithal to do it, and we can develop them as well. And at that time, all they had was the Kawhia Native Committee. So, but that, if they had their land, they had their taonga, and the right plan going forward, they believed that they were able to, that they were going to retain their independence and control over what they was kaitiakia and what they actually own. So that's really what we're on about. It's about empowering our people, and we do want to put this paper on the table to the board. And I guess, you know, we don't want to hurt any of our people by what we're doing. And we're talking about the entity. We're not talking about the ira tangata of Maniapoto. It's the entity. And the entities, so far as we can see, are not going to take us to where we need to go, and that is to get back control of our lives and our land, and all of those things in it. And we're not against Tauiwi living on our land. Actually, Maniapoto people are the most generous people that one can encounter. And so I hope I'm putting that succinctly to you. We're coming from not a corporate position, which I think disempowers us. We're coming from a sovereign position. And the structure that has already been modelled in the he whakaputanga, which is Wakaminenga, our own parliament, which is our own parliament, then a government administrator, and then our own kaunihira. And we can repeat that a number of times around Maniapoto and around our geographical area. And the other thing, we think our geographical area has been reduced down unnecessarily, and we think that I'm not sure how you're going to cope with that, because as you say, you know, Ruapehu, those areas, Taihape, halfway over to Lake Taupo, 21 kilometres out to Kāwhia, going right to Waikato Hospital where we have interests there. You know, how are we going to capture what really we should be benefiting from as a people? Nō reira te whānau, ngā mana o Maniapoto, ngā mihi tō whakararo kia hau, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou.
Any partai for Alfred and Georgie? Carl, I just want to thank you.
Sorry, I just had to go around and get the rangitahi, and then, but I just wanted to, did anyone actually sort of just discuss the, just quickly in terms of general business, the agreement in principle?
Okay. What do you want to know?
Oh, no. Oh, kia ora Missy, and kia ora whānau Maniapoto Trust Board. Yeah, acknowledge the kōrero of Georgie. However, I also know that all of those questions that are raised have been raised within the claimant hui over many, many years. I stand as a sovereign person of Maniapoto, and that will never be taken away from me. In terms of the agreement in principle, I suppose the things that actually concern me is that I'm not too sure whether anyone in this room, because I don't quite understand what are we looking at, and I don't expect it to be part of this, so it's just questions back there. I've read the agreement in principle, and I think it's very weak. I think that essentially what you've got is the whole list of land titles and figures and numbers, but you've got nothing there that would inspire what I believe Rangatahi to go, yep, I'm in agreement with this. Because unfortunately, unlike our kin, and I've repeated this at the hui iwi at Te Rangatiratanga, is that unlike our kin Waikato Tainui, they had things that were central. Central here is that they had a city, they had a university, they had a research centre, they had a big river called Waikato, to which we've actually, during this whole process, given away our rights to. And I think too is that what we have to look at, and I'm looking at the agreement in principle, I want everything that says interest to be replaced by the word rights. You know, we have a lot of rights. Nga Maniapoto, whānau have a lot of rights, and we have bravely given those rights away, not only to the Crown, but as well as in conversation, but as well as to our border kin that surround us. And I think one of the things that disappoints me is one of the greatest rights that we have, which I feel might actually improve our position, is that it is clearly stated that Maniapoto's chiefs gave rights over to 28 miles out to sea from the southern borders right up through up to what I know of as Rhode Island. Excuse my ignorance around specific references, but I think we all understand that was. I would have liked to have seen that being featured. It can still be featured. I'm not too sure whether it's in the AIP, but I think that was one of the greatest things that we could have actually given back over to our people, so that our rangatahi can actually see this is our territory. And I've followed the Hauraki Tauranga Moana argument, and I think Tauranga Moana has been so brave to stand up and say, enough is enough. You know, you've moved into the territory of rights as opposed to interest, Hauraki, and we argue that what is rightfully ours, we will stand and we will say this is so. If you do look at in terms of the boundaries of what the Trust Board can actually is operating on, 1.3 million acres when I was born, we operated on 3.6 million acres. And that sadly is one of the hugest compensations that actually has taken place through this model of engagement with the Crown. The other thing I fear in terms of like settlements is that I fear the right to say that I'm a sovereign person, because in actual fact, after the settlement, once it's signed off, like everyone else that's engaged, the 72 other iwi, hapu that have signed off, we become a statute. As a tangata whenua, we become a statute within a parliament. You know, and I, for myself personally, and I stand here as a woman approaching 65 rather than 25, is that concerns me. Is that's what my inheritance, I'm passing over my legacy as an activist and saying to the mokopuna, you are now a statute within the government. Do Pākehās actually stand up, look at their babies and say, we're statutes? And so, you know, it is a flawed process. If we agree that it's a flawed process, it's an unjust process. But as Peter Douglas has constantly said, we are not looking for justice. We will not find justice in this process. But what if it's going to go through, we're going to follow it through. The third most important point is that do we defer and wait for Nga Hapu to sign off, our trusted enemy of the past, or do we actually allow Nga Hapu to sign off and Maniapoto wins the battle around who signs off last? You know, I don't know. But on the big issue of things, because I was up north with Nga Hapu with Sonny Tau and Hone Sandler and our rōpū of here, Wakaminenga's rōpū up there, and we argued, I put that point to them, and they laughed, because they now want to sign off last. And I said, so you should, because you gave us these two documents, He Whakaputanga, the Declaration of Independence, and the Te Tireni. It would be natural, it would be improper for us to actually sign our settlement after them. But we're not on a race to the winning line. We can't be. We must sign off when we're ready. And if that means Nga Hapu has to wait until we of Maniapoto are ready, so be it. Because the third question is, once we all become statutes to the Crown, to the New Zealand government, once we all as Māori can say every day, wake up and say we're a statute on their books, we're accountable to the legislation, we can't move within our entities unless the law says that we can move, because that's the truth. You know, the Waikato Settlement Act is very clear about what they can come to. Okay, I get the point. The point is, if we value Te Tireni or Waitangi, if we value Te Whakaputanga, then what happens after we've settled with the Crown in this process? Does that mean the Crown will come back to us and say, we can be a republic now and we can extinguish the
Tangata whenua
of those two documents? And what I want to see actually within our settlement is we make sure that He Whakaputanga and Te Tireni o Waitangi, for whatever that means to people, because I remember we used to run around as kids saying, we didn't sign the treaty, right? Well, whatever that means is that because it's such is now considered the founding documents of this country, we need to make sure the crowns of tomorrow don't extinguish those documents and then just allow us to sit within their statutes of claim. Kia ora.
Good points.
Kia ora. I think one of the things that we all have to be mindful of is that Maniapoto have great leaders. Yes, I do believe that Maniapoto are a area that have given more to others than throughout its history. But I also know that Maniapoto is an area that looks for opportunities. And to this point, in the last few years, the Crown has been offering us roadmaps or pathways. But we've always sat back until we actually know just exactly where we are. Because what this is about, in my terms, is about being able to offer opportunity for our people. We all like to sit where, and I like the history of Maniapoto, and I go back and say, well, Maniapoto was this, Maniapoto was that. But is that offering opportunities for our people? So, look, I sympathise with all those sorts of kōrero, but if we're going to move ahead in my vision, and Maniapoto is a people of vision, I believe, can now offer that greater opportunity to our people. I remember when the first offer came, Tauhenara came and he said, I'll offer you 70 million tomorrow. And Maniapoto said, no, we value that greater than that. So I think, you know, all the kōrero that you talk about is diminishing and that, there's nothing else on the table at the moment that we can offer our people from your perspective. What we're now saying is we're going to take this offer to our people in 3, 4 months, 5 months' time. If they say, come back and say no, well, we'll go to the drawing again. Then, so while I value those things, hang on to it if you want to. That might come into play. But what we have now is offering an opportunity for our people to either move ahead, if they can see greater things in the future for themselves, if we take this opportunity, fair play. Yeah. So I follow these things around. We've actually gone beyond what we normally do, and I don't have any problem with that. So I want to thank Steve for offering you that, but you know, I don't want to actually go on too long because we also have other things to do. There are opportunities out there. I might miss out. Kia ora tātou. Oh, okay. Oh, reira, tēnei te mihi kia koe. Oh, yeah.
E kui koromā nā rana kura mā tāwaka tēnā koutou katoa. Ai te mihi hatu. Nā rana kira taumata o ngati Maniapoto Trust tēnā koutou katoa. Ko wai ahau, ko Owen Te One Simmons taku ingoa, ko Tainui Te Waka, ka ki raukoa Maniapoto te iwi, ka ki huri, Nga Hapu, te kaukoro o Pakatere te rohe, ki wautu. Te Wakaminenga Wahi Hapu, o Nu Tireni, o Maniapoto. Nō reira, he te whānau tēnā koutou katoa. Nā Mihirawhiti kia koutou mo te rā nei, a i o matiwai kore, e re ngaia. Nō reira, te whānau o Maniapoto, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa.
Nō rā tēnei, nō rā tēnei whakamutunga ki a tātou. Ana ka mihe nō rā te whare, mahano nei a tātou i tēnei wā. A te papa I waho nei, whiti nei te rā ki rui a tātou. O reira, koutou, ngā rangatira, tātou mā tamariki, tēnā koutou. O reira, ka huri anō rā ki tō tātou wate Nu Tireni, ki runga, nā ana he tuku atu he whakamungi ki ai, he whakamutungi a tātou. Nā reira, e pā, tēnei rā ki tēnei kia, nā hori. Nō, I nei whakamaimiti. Nā no rā I tuku mai o wairua, I wainganui a mātou, I pai hei te haere o tēnei hui, me ngā kōrero rongo nei mātou. Nō reira, o mai ka te tika te ora, ki rungi a mātou, me nei kaupapa, ke tika ai te haere, hei whakakaha ki tō mātou I mani. Nō reira, a kua pēwhea nge rā anō o rātou kāre tai mai, e ngā mau ino hoi manaki nge rā, tātou kau mātou e pui ino ho mai rai I a kāinga I a mara. Mauro he mana ki tō tātou kini tūheitia, no mai rai ni te aureo papu ngana mātua tūpuna, kai mārere ki a rātou katoa, reira e te apua. Koe ni rā mātou hingi nei, te nōtu ni kei mātou rari ako e me te tana ihu kai ti. Kai nei, ake tonu, āmi.
Amen.